Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'll be sharing my thoughts on The Walking Dead The World Beyond, a show created by Scott M. Gimple and also written by Scott M. Gimple. Yay! Anyway, I'll keep this review short and sweet. The Walking Dead World Beyond is 52 minutes of my life that I will never get back. I really wish it was better, but it's just so bloody dull. Admittedly, there's nothing on the same level of awfulness found in Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 and 5 in this episode, but literally next to nothing happens during its hour-long runtime. I mean, at least in Fear the Walking Dead there was some entertainment value to be found because of how bad it was, but this episode is just so boring. I really wonder how many people actually made it all the way to the end. I mean, the 2.5 stars rating that it currently has on Amazon Prime, which is airing it in the UK, kinda tells its own story. Speaking of stories, The World Beyond takes place 10 years after the initial Walker outbreak, set at a university campus which has been converted into some kind of survivor camp. Iris and Hope, who are sisters, are the two main characters, and they spend their time worrying about their father, who has been taken by the CRM group. That's the same helicopter group found in The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, and he's basically been taken by them because he's some kind of scientist slash doctor, and the CRM want him to help with whatever dodgy research they're doing. Iris and Hope are suspicious of the CRM's true intentions, and I mean, why wouldn't they be? The CRM have helicopters, guns, practically an army. They won't tell anyone what they're doing or where they're actually based, and they all wear black fascist-like uniforms, so I'm sure they're all actually really nice people. And that's really about all there is to it in terms of narrative. It's not until the last couple of minutes that the group do venture outside the camp and things do actually start to happen. Aside from that, it's just 50 minutes of them sitting around talking. Now, I'm all for character development. I mean, I love the second season of The Walking Dead. I think it's one of the best seasons of the show, and I know a lot of people hate it because they see it as being too slow, but I think that it gave the characters time to breathe, time to grow, and it allowed us to become attached to characters like Glenn and Maggie, who would go on to be fan favourites. And I think perhaps The World Beyond is trying to copy that approach, but it just doesn't work because none of the conversations that take place are interesting in the slightest. And of course there are some classic Gimpleisms thrown into the conversations as well. I mean, at one point Iris says something like, "I'm living for me, in the now, I'm going to find my truth." And you just think, for fuck's sake, Scott Gimple, go outside and actually have a conversation with someone. Learn how people talk to one another, because that's not how they talk. I'm convinced that Scott Gimple only chose a university campus as the setting for this show because his philosophical nonsense type of dialogue style would kind of make more sense coming out of young adults who are trying to find their place in the world. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of young adults are quite awkward. Some of them do lean on the pretentious side, so hearing this kind of dialogue kind of makes more sense coming out of them than Rick or Daryl in the main show, for example, but it doesn't make it any more bearable to actually have to sit there and listen to. Going back to the narrative, I really think that The World Beyond could have got through the plot of this episode in half the time that it did. I mean, it's not until the last 5 minutes that things actually happen and things seem to progress, and it feels like next week's episode is going to be the first true episode of this show because the group are now on the run from the CRM and they're going to have to deal with walkers and the undead. And this didn't really feel like a premiere, it felt like an extended prologue. I will say though, one positive from this episode is that I did like the ending. After the 4 main characters leave the campus, it cuts back to it and it's been destroyed, which I assume has been done by the CRM because they're there. So it looks like their intention was to just raid and destroy the place. I don't exactly know why, but I kind of liked how this ending contrasted with the rest of the episode, which felt like a cheesy teen drama. I'm not really sure what the deal is with the English CRM chief lady though, because she hands Iris and Hope what is a kind of a map to the location of their father, which is what then sets them off with wanting to leave the camp to go and find him. And then at the end, when she's there with the CRM amongst all the chaos that's happened and the destruction, a soldier comes over to her and says, "Oh, they've escaped," referring to the kids, and she says, "Oh, good." Which is kind of confusing because I thought the CRM destroyed the place, so why is she happy that they escaped? So, yeah, I don't really know what the deal is, but at least there's something intriguing to her, there's some mystery to her character, you know, something interesting amongst all the rest of the averageness on this episode, so at least that grabbed me, because nothing else did. Throughout the episode, Iris has flashbacks to her mother dying because, of course, this wouldn't be a Scott Gimple show without the use of his favourite narrative technique, flashbacks. And during said flashbacks, Iris's mother is basically shot by a pregnant lady who is panicking because it looks like planes are collapsing and the world is falling apart. So I'm assuming this is the start of the outbreak. And yeah, she panics because she wants to steal a car and get away, and that ends with Iris and Hope's mother being killed. Now, the only immediate thought that came into my head when watching that was, how much more interesting would this show have been if it had followed Iris and Hope as two young girls trying to navigate the world of The Walking Dead? I mean, I know their dad was still alive at this point in time, but let's just kill him, pretend he's dead, and let's just follow these two as they try to survive as young kids amongst the world falling apart. It would kind of be like Clem's story in the Telltale games. And that kind of says it all to me, that I'm already imagining scenarios to make this show more interesting than it already is. It's definitely not a good sign. An opening episode of any show is supposed to grab its audience and make them want to watch more and stick through it, but this episode was just so tedious that I would rather watch Fear the Walking Dead instead, and you know how much I hate Fear the Walking Dead. I will give The World Beyond a chance though, because I know it's only the first episode and hopefully things do improve next week with the characters on the road, and hopefully they come into contact with other people and walkers, and just hopefully more in general actually happens. But as an opening episode, this was extremely forgettable, which is probably the worst sin an opening episode of any show can commit, basically. So yeah, not a good episode. It wasn't awful, you know, like I said, it's not the worst thing I've ever watched, but it's just so tedious, so dull. There's just nothing to it. No soul there, you know. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it's true. There's just no soul to it. But hopefully things improve. So let me know your thoughts below. Did you like The World Beyond's opening episode? Did you agree with me that it was just a bit average, bit boring? Or did you think it was worse than Fear the Walking Dead? Did you think it was absolutely terrible? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know below. And let's hope things improve, because otherwise I could be reviewing this and Fear the Walking Dead, and I might not like either of them. So it's going to be a very long sort of 8-9 weeks of reviewing them shows. So hopefully things improve. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you, and goodbye.